Hey everybody, this is Josh Cook, aka Seizures Palace, and today we are in the studio and about to do Song of Week number 17, and I'm excited for this one because I say we're about to do. This one's already done, by the way, so I am going to take you through it, but this particular track was done for a buddy of mine whose name is Oozie, hence the title of this track, Forooze. I prefer it to sound more like one word, Forooze. And I think his hashtag is Say It Like You're French. I should double check that. Anyway, I am going to put a link to his stuff down in the description, so do make sure to check that out. Check out his music. He is awesome. Performed at Yonge and Dundas Square recently from winning a couple rap battles, rather a couple larger rap battles that sort of dwindled down to the final two. I think he made it to the final two, so that's pretty awesome. Anyway, I'd been meaning for a long time to get back into making some hip-hop beats, and Oozie is a fantastic rapper. I've loved working with the guy in the past, so it just made sense to reach out to him and offer to do a free beat, and this is the one that I ended up creating. So let's get through it. To be clear, the style of hip-hop that I usually produce is more towards Dr. Dre. I was very influenced in the 90s and early 2000s by Eminem, and the work that he did with Dre, wow, that would be more back in the 90s, but so that tends to lend itself towards my more regular sound. I was going to move this a bit. But yeah, I decided to try something a little bit different today and model it after just that new rap sound with really sort of in-your-face hi-hats, oftentimes very glitchy. I didn't go with any boomer basses or anything like that, like 404s. It's just kind of simple kick snare. The snare actually, I think, is, let me double check. Yeah, so there are some sounds modeled after some of those old kits, like the 808s, and I said 404, I think I meant 808. Anyway, I should probably show you how the song sounds. Here's what we have. This would kind of be the verse, so what you just heard would have been part of the hook. And it was actually Oozie's idea to put in those cool little chimes in the background. In terms of the sound design and what I was influenced, or who I was influenced by to make this, that sound was actually Aluna George. They have a lot of those sort of large-tailed, like, basically sounds with a lot of reverb, and I don't know, just that future-y sort of sound. I don't know, it's difficult to explain, but yeah, kind of muffled, kind of distorted, but not too distorted, and I could just summarize it by saying it sounds kind of like this. Anyway, looks like my CPU, probably based on all the extra plugins that I have going on, a lot of them are sound toys in this case, is choking up a little bit, but hopefully it is okay for the sake of this tutorial. So I'm going to start off with showing you guys what's going on with the drums. Here's what we have by itself. There it is. Bless me. Okay. So you can hear that there's not really too much going on with the drums in terms of the parts, but there's quite a bit of processing happening behind it all. So that's the bass drum that I chose, and then I also duplicated that and saturated it pretty considerably with the Decapitator by Sound Toys, a pretty awesome little plugin. I'm using this thing on everything now. It's bad. I'm like a Decapitator enthusiast. All right, so together. quite a bit of thud, and there's also a drum bus that this is all running through, and there's more decapitation, so to speak, on that. I should actually probably EQ that a little bit, but instead of putting a compressor on, I'm choosing to parallel compress with some saturation, and that's sounding okay for this track. Check it out, more sound toys. So I don't think I used little altar boy in this one, did I? I'm not noticing a difference. I don't think that one's actually getting used. Wait. It sounds basically the same. I'm not going to delete it right now just in case there's some subtle pitch changing or something that I did. But I am using this guy, Devil Lock, which is a unique little compressor that it's modeled after, from what I don't remember the name of the actual compressor. I should double check that. Doing these song a weeks, I should really do a little more research before I get into them, but I'm just so excited. Yeah, but it models a old compressor, an analog compressor, that had a unique characteristic, or even like considerably like a bad characteristic, but used sparingly. This can add some unique characteristics to to whatever sound you're applying it for. Or I should say two. And then, so that's the clean, and then we also have basic Ableton reverb, and then a delay, and this is what my favorite, it's my favorite part of the snare. Man, words. So yeah, the Echo Boy, also from Soundtoys, sounds really great in terms of analog style echoing and or delay, and here's how it sounds by itself. So it has that tape sort of reverb sound or delay sound, and yeah, I've been pretty happy with that. So using it on some drums here and there. So you can hear past that, it's mostly just a hi-hat, which is pan pretty far right. I might mess with the panning a little bit. Also, there's that crash with the big delay on it. Got that going on. I might take down some of the high frequencies on that just a little bit. Kind of soften it a little bit. Yeah, so that's the drums in a nutshell. The cymbals, also, I'm doing a lot of effect racks lately in terms of just like throwing on a reverb, duplicating that so it's cleaner, rather creating another channel so that you have a clean channel, and then I've also done the delay channel. Sorry, I'm a little bit sick right now. Apologies for all the sniffing and stuff. And I find that one cool trick that I like to do is on my delays, I'll put an auto filter, and I'm really only listening to stuff basically above 1K or as low as maybe like 600 hertz or something like that. Just so that way the echo doesn't feel as present. Because remember, when you have low frequencies at around that sort of 100 to 500 hertz region, you're kind of starting to make things feel closer to you. It's the proximity effect, right? So you don't want a delay, which is intentionally supposed to sound in the background, to sound too close. So to get rid of some of that warmth or those low frequencies kind of helps with that. So I like to do that. That's something I like to do. It's pretty fun. Let's go over to sub bass. This is my standard Slink bass. Slink is a amazing, I want to say, glitch hop producer. He produces a lot of different types of stuff. Styles, God, words. But yeah, so there was a while ago that he did a tutorial on his sub bass and how he creates it using, triangle waves. And so I ended up emulating that, doing my own little tweaks to it, saved it in my, user library over here. And then whenever I need an awesome little sub, I just use my Slink sub. That is sidechain compressed to the drums, particularly the bass drum. I didn't have a sidechain channel on this one because the bass drum pattern is pretty erratic at times. Like there's where's that? There's one spot. I'll find it later. Anyway. So yeah, here's the sub bass by itself. Going to soften the attack a little bit. I'm using the old Ableton compressor with the FF1 setting to help with those clicks and to eliminate them, that is. Notice I'm not hitting upgrade. It's tempting, but don't do it. The old Ableton compressor is arguably a little bit better for sidechain compression, and again, Slink covers that within his video. Let's go over to keys next. Okay, so I have that whole future bass enveloped auto filter, sidechained auto filter, whatever you want to call it. It's being triggered by the bass drum. So if you listen, I'm going to take the bass drum and solo it with the keys. You're going to hear the keys sort of morph around the bass drum sound. So every time the bass drum hits, the keys are going to lower their frequency, so it's going to be muffled temporarily while the bass drum hits, and then it's going to be opened back up again afterwards. That's kind of a reverse effect of what you would want to try to get rid of frequency clashing, because when the bass drum hits, which is low frequencies, the keyboard is going to have low frequencies as well too. So there still is a buildup, and it's a good idea to have a bit of sidechain compression to help battle that. But it gives a really cool effect, and here's how it sounds. I think I did it on the pad as well too. Let's listen to that. Now the pad is much more subtle. It is still going on, but it's not, you can see the envelope isn't nearly as extreme. It's still pretty extreme, but it's not all the way cranked. So those two together, they're subtle. I'm not going for a really liquidy, super huge wrapped sound. It's just meant to be subtle and sort of accenting onto the kick. Excuse me. We have leads. Let's check them out. So also some of that same effect going on here. And I have a couple different leads. This one's 22 to the left, a little more high-pitched. To the right, a little more brassy, and in the middle. Holy, I'm Alarm City right now. All right, alarms are turned off. I normally do that beforehand. This is one of those crash and burn videos. I'm going to go through with it anyway. Why not? You guys are still getting the idea. Okay, so those are the three leads. You can see they all have very different sounds. One of my favorite discoveries within this is, by the way, these three leads are presets that I tweaked very little. I just wanted to scroll through. I have tons of presets, so just scroll through a bunch and find something that was pretty close to what I wanted, and then tweak it from there, which is normally what I do, unless I have a sound design specific day in which I'm trying to actually create something totally new and unique, and that's more focused towards Seizures Palace specific stuff. For the song week, I don't have quite as much time to invest into the sound design, but still love when I do have that opportunity. So one of these, I think it was the third one, whenever the mod wheel is being used, I'm going to have to go into envelopes here. It has a really cool effect. It's kind of scary sounding almost. It sounds like this. So it's kind of pitch bending a bit. There's some filtering going on. And the other ones, if you listen to this one, for example, just by itself, I suppose. Just straight up filtering. And then this one here, also filtering. This one, the detune is just fantastic though. Go away. I love it. So together, it's subtle, but it gives a really awesome sort of, just a creepy sort of sound. And then I kind of already went over this sound with you guys. Sounds pretty bad by itself, pretty distorted. It's a pluck sound with a decapitator pretty heavily set on top, sweeping out some low frequencies. And this guy gets used when? Oh yeah, so this is used during the intro, so it's more muffled, that sort of idea. But for the rest of the song, it's not applied. Oh, actually for the outro too, it is. So yeah, that covers the pluck sound. That was kind of a Luna George influenced. The Nito sort of lead that had some detune to it, as well as these two other leads that had some filtering going on. The two pads that both had that, I always like to call it sidechain filtering, because it's kind of like sidechain compression with filtering in a way. I guess it's being triggered anyway. So there's that going on with the pad and the keys, and they both kind of have a similar function, just different frequency ranges. They're both pretty low and muffled for the most part, but they complement each other nicely. Got the sub. You see our mastering is doing all right in terms of competitive volume. The limiter isn't doing a whole lot. These three compressors are each doing under a decibel of compression, about 0.7 each. Saturator, 4 decibels of drive. That's not a whole lot. It's a good amount for mastering especially, but it's still suited for this sort of analog-y hip-hop sort of instrumental. So I'm not overdoing the mastering too much, or maybe not even I'm probably overdoing it. But yeah, you can see the levels are pretty competitive. I'm hitting about -6 RMS. That is going to suck some of the dynamics out of it, but until the loudness wars are fully done, I still like to compete up around those EDM hip-hop levels for EDM and hip-hop. Anyway, this isn't really meant to be a detailed mastering tutorial, but you guys get the idea. So we have some drums, sub bass, keys, pad, leads, and pluck. That is my rendition of a newer sounding hip-hop song, and I'm going to use that as a foot in the door to experiment with more sounds like this down the road, collaborate with guys like Oozie J French and other people that I know that are also fantastic rappers who will not be mentioned unless the collabs happen. I don't think I have anything else to say for today. Hopefully I get better and healthy for next week. Yeah, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Take it easy.